Hi there, Dr. Carl here again, uh, making the video for um, the lecture for the 1st of February. It's hard to believe we're that far along. If you remember yesterday, Monday, we started a new kind of section on symbolism and the subconscious, and we looked at works by Gabriel von Max, all those monkeys, and the Munich painter that had all those monkeys in his atelier. And we looked at a bunch of Sphingen, which is plural for sphinxes. And we also were introduced to Sigmund Freud and his couch, which was, and we watched a little video on YouTube about the significance of the couch and how it was really a tool to encourage his patients to open up and reveal all their secrets from childhood, all their traumas from childhood, so that they could be healed from them, so that they could be liberated from them. And that was Sigmund Freud's big contribution. His big discovery was in the field of psychoanalysis. He really is considered the father of psychoanalysis for, advancing this idea of therapy and of unlocking the subconscious. And I think I mentioned that, even though a lot of his ideas have been debunked, they really we have therapy culture and all the sort of confessional interviews that we hear all over the place, really. Anytime we're talking about our childhood and the connection between events in our youth and those, the connection between those and our adult behavior, we have Sigmund Freud to thank for that. And I think I mentioned too, the secret of the couch was the idea that you would lie there and you would actually stare up at the ceiling, which was usually blank, and you would kind of become disconnected from your narrative. It wouldn't be like you were telling a story to another human being, another face, but rather looking up at a blank ceiling, you would start to fall deeper into your own storytelling and maybe get closer to the truth, closer to more vulnerable things that might unlock your trauma. I guess something more to say about Freud is that he had a lot of, it wasn't just sort of random talking on while you're lying down on a couch. He had a lot of theories about how the mechanisms of our psyche and what kinds of rules are governing them. And perhaps what was most radical and shocking about Freud's theories was the emphasis that he placed on sexuality, on the sexuality of the patient. And he had these theories that were really quite disturbing for people at the time. And one of them was called the Oedipus complex. Now, the Oedipus complex was there's no other description, there's no other adjective to lend it. It was salacious. It was salacious. It was shocking. It sort of addressed this kind of taboo area of the imagination, whereby he had this theory that all men, when they were young, when they were boys, secretly desired their mothers, secretly wanted to have sex with their mothers, secretly were in competition with their fathers, secretly wanted to kill their fathers so that they could have sex with their mothers. And he thought that this kind of deep desire in our in the subconscious of men. And interestingly, there wasn't really there were people who suggested that there might be a sort of a similar thing for women. Did women, and girls have similar desires? And he kind of rejected that. This was something that affected men. In any case, he named it the Oedipus complex, and he named it after this famous play by Sophocles, in which there is a character called Oedipus who accidentally goes and kills his father, and indeed falls in love with. He doesn't know that it's his mother, but falls in love with his mother. So it's an ancient play from BCE, several centuries before the Common Era. And it was a play that was, because there was a lot of neoclassicism in Europe in the 19th century, that frequently was staged in Paris and Vienna, where Freud was active. And so he probably went to see several of these plays, and that's probably why he named his big theory, or one of his big theories, after this play and after the story of Oedipus, who's in this play. Suffice it to say that this idea was, people had mixed reactions. Some people hailed Freud as a great genius and thought this was the most authoritative and insightful new general unifying theory, like a theory of man, a theory of humankind, a theory of everybody's psychology. Slowly throughout the 20th century, it has been debunked. There's really not a lot of empirical evidence to support it, but I'm less concerned with that and more interested in the fact that there was a craze for it and for his writings and for his ideas in the 19th century. And people really thought he was the bee's knees, and thought that everything, he wrote a lot of books. And the one I think that has this Oedipus theory is called The Interpretation of Dreams, which was published, I think, in 1899. But he had kind of touched upon these ideas previously, and they were kind of like circulating around, like a lot of like Marxism, like Darwinism. Anybody that was going to dinner parties and talking with educated people was talking about these very things, and speculating on whether it was actually possible that all men had this, secret desire to seduce and have sex with their mothers. It really captured the imagination. It was the talk of the town. And it was something the artists really thought about seriously. They, simply the idea, simply the notion of the subconscious and what it was, and whether there was this thing in our minds that was sort of ruling all of our actions, whether we were really kind of sleepwalking through life and not really in control of our actions, in control of our fate, of the direction of our lives, that really we were governed by this really deep-seated thing in our imaginations, was something that was taken seriously, and particularly the sexual nature of these theories was really, probably made them even more fascinating for artists and for the general public as well. Freud um, had other theories that were just as kind of, that sounded just as radical, where a lot of them were sexual in nature. He also had this idea about the fear of castration, like that all boys are really, so much of male behavior is governed by the fear that men are going to be castrated. One of the theories that he did have about women was that women are secretly, they all have something called penis envy, like they're all jealous that they really want this thing that all they see that boys, when they're maybe undressing at a swimming pool with their siblings, they see that their brothers have something that they don't have. They're all really, according to Freud, all really envious of that thing and they want it. Again, these are all the kind of really salacious and taboo theories that this expert, this genius, was publishing and writing about. And it was really quite, upsetting. It gained a lot of traction. And consequently, like I said, a lot of artists were really obsessed with it, and they tried to, I think because of Freud's writings, they really tried to mine this, they really thought they were unlocking something powerful by trying to access the subconscious of people, and they tried intentionally to embrace or discover symbols that might trigger those kinds of interactions. And so this is what really symbolists like Gustave Moreau, like Charles Baudelaire, who we're going to look at on Friday, were in search of, were these really evocative, enigmatic, mysterious symbols that might access the audience's subconscious, might almost shock them into a new reality. It's definitely an idea that was continued with the Surrealists later in the 20th century, but the Surrealists had their foundation in the 19th century with these symbolist painters and writers and so on. So that's really what we're kind of dealing with when we encounter the writings of Freud, and it's certainly what we encounter when we look at a lot of paintings by Gustave Moreau. The fact that he's so much of a focus on. Oh, just a minute.